God save the wallet.
Rather yelling God save the Queen, I almost yelled out God save the team after watching Chelsea versus Manchester City at the beginning of the season. Me myself as a Chelsea fan, I do not feel like Chelsea has a good performance versus Manchester City in the very first game, as they have draw their game in the previous two games in the last season versus Manchester City. And looking at the way that Chelsea play in the very first game, they do not really have a nice tactic, especially in the front of the attackers. They have been increasing a lot of shot attempts, however, it's not quite accurate. Well, we're talking about Chelsea right now, a bit of the top of the league, usually end up above 5th place of the leaderboard every season. Maybe 6th, sometimes 7th. They have tried before, and worst case, they have seldom been lower than 10th place. But Chelsea this season has slightly decreased in performance, in my humble opinion. Well, I vow to say that Chelsea is going to have a slight worst performance in average, especially taking into account on previous season, especially in the first half of the Premier League season this year. And looking by the previous game, Chelsea versus Wolverhampton, they do not have, it is a very big win, like 6-2, that is crazy. However, I do not think that Chelsea had a great defense, because if every one of you guys remember clearly, the very first half of the game Chelsea have draw to Wolverhampton, and it was a 1-1 draw, and then they start to build the attack in the second half of the game. So they're kind of like a bit of a sleepy game in the very first half versus Wolverhampton. Unfortunately, I do have to say that Chelsea has decreased in their shot conversion rate and more attempts, however, least on target and least score. So the attempts more than the scores, which means that they do have more opportunity on attacking. However, their accuracy are just not the best at the moment of the state. Their defense has slightly improved in the second game of the season compared to the first game. Maybe you could argue that Manchester City has been a very solid team recently in Premier League. However, I don't think Chelsea has excuse, because they are also one of the better teams in Premier League. So that's why I feel like Chelsea should step up their defending game, at least versus Crystal Palace this week. Chelsea is going to have a warm welcome, hopefully, to Crystal Palace in Stamford Stadium. And, Crystal Palace does have a quite stable data as we're looking here. Well, they have quite a stable attacking, and also they have more attack as well, and more shot conversion rate, and also higher of the rate. However, their defense, it has been quite stable recently as well, comparing to previous data and in the previous season and the previous two seasons, in fact. However, they have more offside. Well, more offside in correlation, they will lose more corner kicks, and more corner kicks to lose, which means Chelsea in the next game will have a higher opportunity to score. Well, to be honest, I did say Chelsea is kind of slightly decreasing in performance right now, especially if you see the midfield captain Enzo. He has not been managing the midfield area quite well. I would say he did have a decent job of managing the midfield area at this moment. We can't really see that on the game versus Manchester City, as he was trying to score quite a lot and not taking his responsibility quite well. So that's why I say that Enzo he's a good player. I do have to say that, but he has to sort of stay back on the midfield area and let players like Palmer or Mudryk, the Ukraine player, to score. He has to distribute a little bit more. Cucurella has been a very nice defense. I think Chelsea defense is somewhat based on Cucurella defense in the back, And because, I mean, he's one of the longer player that has been in Chelsea. One of the older player in Chelsea. So that's why I do think that they have been quite relying on Cucurella's possessions. We also look at the substitute versus Wolverhampton, which is someone that I really have to pinpoint, João Felix, the Portuguese striker, that he has been, I mean, he's very young and he's quite playful in the field as well. And I think Chelsea does need a little bit more rely on him. He needs to sort of go out to the field and play a little bit more, let this young boy sort of like touch the ground, play more in with the ball, so to say. So I think Chelsea has a solid room of improvement in the management's sake, and also in the midfield area, as they need slightly more ball control, especially in the game versus Manchester City. Crystal Palace, their corner kick, let's talk about the corner kick. They have quite a nice improvement in the corner kick performance, as this increased their opportunity to attack, which could sort of scare Chelsea a little bit if we just by looking at the data. So if I were to say that, my verdict of this game, Chelsea has a higher possession of ball control, more shooting attempts. However, is it going to be accurate? Is the shooting will they increase their shooting accuracy? I doubt that, because still it's a game versus Crystal Palace, and Chelsea might have just underestimate a team like that in Premier League. But I do have to say that Crystal Palace has performing quite well, a little bit unexpected, out of my expectation this season. Crystal Palace, we look at the previous two games, Crystal Palace did lost against Brentford and also West Ham United. Although Crystal Palace unfortunately lost to them, I do think that Crystal Palace has the potential to be top 10 of Premier League, as they are sort of, every data of Crystal Palace are slightly improving, and probably by the end of the season they could be on top of that. They could probably top off, I'll say even Tottenham or maybe Manchester United in Premier League this season. I do not think Crystal Palace will be winning Chelsea in this game. There will be also a slight probability of Crystal Palace making the game draw. However, if we look at the data that God Save the Wallet have calculated and artificial intelligence, the probability of having a draw is 25% and Crystal Palace winning 35%. To be honest, 40% for Chelsea to win is a little bit low as a team like that's in London, I mean in Premier League in general. In my perspective, in addition of the data, I vow to say that Chelsea will win. However, there is also a very, very slight probability, in my mind it's like 15% of Crystal Palace winning or even draw. So in combined 15%. That's what I want to say. So it will be a good bet to be in the same ticket of other bets, such as with Manchester City versus the Hammers and Chelsea versus Crystal Palace. So I think this will be a particularly a safety bet. In both of the data of both teams, they quite have a high number of corner kicks. So that's why if you guys are down for that, I think it will. I do believe that there will be a pretty high amount of corner kicks in the coming game of Chelsea versus Crystal Palace. And the calculation that we have here for 90 minutes of corner kick, 9.5 corner kick or more is 60%. 11.5 corner kick or more is 70%, and even crazier is 14.5 or more is 80%. So I think it will definitely have. Oh, I also mislooked a number. It's 15.5 or more is 85%. So corner kick is a nice way to get into the betting system in this game. In conclusion, I would have to say, as Chelsea being the home team, I hope they are going to step up the game a little bit, especially in the defending and attacking parts. And so he has to sort of hold back the midfield area a little bit, so then they could have a better and more beautiful construction of the game, a better strategic and also tactic here. They are definitely going to be a little bit more aggressive comparing to Crystal Palace and also comparing to the game versus Manchester City. My expectation is they're going to apply quite a bit of pressure in the defending, especially on both sides, on the left and right back. And by attacking in the middle of the field, Chelsea is going to create themselves a little bit more opportunity in order to score. As well, they will also try to increase their possession and ball control in the midfield in order to find some loopholes in the defending part of Crystal Palace. On the other hand, we'd switch our perspective looking at Crystal Palace as an away team. They will try to sort of use counterattacks to win the opportunity against Chelsea. So therefore I would say they might not lose a clean sheet here. Besides using counterattack, they might also take the opportunity of corner kicks and maybe free kicks in order to create themselves opportunity, because it might be a little bit hard. It could be quite challenging for Crystal Palace to bring the ball up to the attacking field. So that's why they need to have fast counter-attack, and they need to sort of fulfill their loopholes that Chelsea might observe. However, the last part that I'm saying that they're going to fulfill the loophole might be a little bit hard for Crystal Palace at their level of playing in Premier League. Well, last but not least, I do also have to say that there is a bit of loopholes in Chelsea's attack. So, especially in the Wolves game, in the Wolverhampton game, especially in the first 45 minutes of the game, they do have a bit of a loophole in their attack there. And I, as a Chelsea enjoyer, I do not quite like to see those loopholes. So we'll see, is Crystal Palace smart enough to spot those loopholes and sneak into them. So if they do, might win a little bit more. Hopefully, well, I can't say hopefully more, but because as a Chelsea fan, but objectively speaking, based on number, they might not lose a clean sheet. That's what I will say. And it's pretty solid that Chelsea is going to win. Yeah, they will. Anyways, I'll see you guys in the next video. Drop a like, consider pop a comment, subscribe, and also more in-depth guide of betting in our Patreon. I'll see you guys in the next video.